Welcome to our deep dive into reflections on life. It seems like a pretty big topic, right? All about figuring out how to appreciate life's beauty, but also deal with all the challenges.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like the sources you've been looking at are trying to answer a pretty deep question. Like, how much control do we really have over the way our lives turn out?
It's a question I ask myself a lot,
Mhm.
honestly. One of the sources kind of boils it down to this idea that life is what you make it. I mean, it sounds kind of cliche,
Yeah.
but then it goes on and talks about how it especially applies to facing those really difficult moments.
Oh, interesting. So how does it explain that?
Well, it basically connects it to being resilient, like having that, I think they even use the word grit, that ability to just keep going even when it feels like you can't.
Oh, I see how that ties in.
And there's this powerful story in there about someone who went through just a terrible time. They were at the point of giving up, and all they could think was just got to take it one step at a time, and somehow they got through it.
That's a really good example of how resilience can actually work in someone's life. And it actually reminds me of something another source brings up. It says that even though when you're going through something really tough, it feels like it'll last forever.
Right.
It's actually temporary.
Oh, so it's like that whole "this too shall pass" idea.
Exactly. The source actually compares tough times to the changing seasons,
Oh, wow.
like how winter eventually becomes spring. It's saying our problems also change over time.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It makes me wonder, though, how do we stay positive when we're stuck in that harsh winter?
Well, one of your sources has a suggestion that might sound kind of odd. Practicing gratitude.
Being grateful when things are rough, how does that even work?
I know, right? But the source talks about gratitude as almost like a magic trick. It can change your whole outlook even when things are hard. It's not about pretending the hard stuff isn't there. It's about looking for the good and appreciating it.
So is there like actual science behind this magic? I mean, can you actually measure the effects of gratitude?
Actually, yeah, there's a good amount of research on it. Studies show that being grateful can make you happier, help you sleep better, improve your relationships,
Really?
and boost your immune system.
That's amazing. It makes you realize how much power we have over our own happiness just by changing what we focus on.
And the best part is, being grateful doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as easy as just taking a few minutes every day to think about what you're thankful for. The source even has a little exercise for you. What am I grateful for today?
I love that. It's so simple, but so powerful.
Yeah.
Makes me curious. What are you grateful for today?
Let me see. Well, I'm definitely grateful for times like these when I can have these deep dives with you and all our listeners on these really interesting topics. It helps us all learn and grow.
Oh, that's really nice of you to say. And it makes me grateful that we get to connect with such curious people like you and explore these ideas together.
Speaking of learning and growing, one of the sources talks about something else that's super important for handling life's ups and downs: self-compassion.
Oh, that's something I definitely struggle with.
Yeah.
It's so easy to beat yourself up when things don't go the way you planned.
We all do it sometimes. The source points out how we're always comparing ourselves to other people. We see their best moments and forget that everyone has their own struggles.
Yeah, it's like we forget everyone's on their own path with its own challenges and triumphs.
Exactly. And this source really stresses that self-compassion isn't about making excuses for yourself or lowering your standards. It's about treating yourself with the same kindness you'd show a good friend.
So instead of getting mad at ourselves for making mistakes, we should be supportive and encouraging.
Precisely. It's all about realizing that we're all human, we all mess up sometimes, and that's okay. It doesn't make us any less worthy or capable. In fact, the source actually says that mistakes can be amazing opportunities to learn.
It's about accepting that we're all works in progress, right? And that growth is a constant journey, not a finish line.
Absolutely, and this source takes it even further. It suggests that instead of saying, I made a mistake, we say, I'm learning. Just that little change in words can change how we feel about setbacks.
I love that. It's about taking charge of how we learn and seeing challenges as chances to grow.
You got it. And that actually leads us to one of the most powerful ideas from all the sources. The idea that you have the power to create the life you want.
Wow. Tell me more about that.
It's really saying that you're not just along for the ride in your own life.
No.
You actually have the power to make decisions and do things that shape your experiences and create a life that means something to you.
I like that idea. It's powerful.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of overwhelming. Like, where would you even start?
That's a good question. And actually, the source material talks about that too. It says it's not about making these huge changes all at once.
Okay.
It's about taking little steps consistently towards what you want.
So it's more about the journey than actually reaching the destination.
Exactly. It's about making sure your daily choices line up with the vision you have for your life. It could be something small, like spending 15 minutes each morning on a personal project, or really trying to connect with people you care about more often.
I could see how those small things could add up over time.
Definitely. One source actually compares it to the rudder of a ship. Even a small change in the rudder can change where the ship ends up over a long distance.
Wow.
It's the same with our lives. Those small, consistent actions can really impact where we end up.
That makes a lot of sense. It reminds me of that saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Exactly. And the source material really stresses that it's never too late to start taking those steps. Doesn't matter where you are in life or what's happened in the past, you always have the choice to take a different path, learn new things, and grow.
That's encouraging to hear. It reminds me that we're not stuck. We always have choices. This source also talks about support systems, which makes sense. Having people around us who lift us up and inspire us makes a big difference when we're trying to create the life we want, right?
For sure. We're not meant to go through life alone. We need people to cheer us on, help us out, and remind us of our strengths when we forget. One source actually takes it a step further and says that real fulfillment comes not just from getting support, but also giving it. Doing things for others, like volunteering or just being there for someone, can give you a real sense of purpose.
It's like that saying, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. There's something really powerful about making a positive impact on the world around us.
Definitely. And the source material reminds us that even small acts of kindness can have a big impact. Just a smile, a kind word, or helping someone out can change their whole day and create a wave of positivity.
It's like those pay-it-forward stories, where one act of kindness leads to another and another.
Exactly. It shows how connected everything is. Your actions, even the small ones, can make a difference in other people's lives.
So as we're getting close to wrapping up this deep dive, what are some of the main takeaways for our listeners to think about?
Well, I think the biggest one is that you have more power than you think to shape your own life. It's about embracing the journey and taking those small steps towards what you want, having supportive people around you, and remembering that even small acts of kindness matter. And of course, being grateful and being kind to yourself along the way makes all the difference.
It sounds like it's all about taking charge of your life, your choices, your actions, your mindset.
Exactly. And remembering that it's a journey, not a race. Be kind to yourself, celebrate the small wins, and never forget how much potential you have. So with that, let's move into the last part of this deep dive and wrap up some of these amazing ideas.
Wow, it's amazing how much we've covered in this deep dive. It feels like we've really explored a whole bunch of ideas for building a more meaningful life.
And the best part is you can actually use all these ideas starting right now. One of your sources puts it perfectly. The power to change your life is always in your hands.
I love that. It's so simple, but so powerful. It reminds me of something we were talking about earlier, life being a journey, not just a destination.
You got it. And it seems like embracing that journey, with all its ups and downs, is a big theme in all your sources. It's about finding joy and meaning right now instead of always chasing some kind of happiness in the future.
It's like we said before, enjoying the whole forest, not just focusing on a few trees. It makes me wonder, are there any ways to actually practice that mindset of appreciating the journey?
Actually, yeah. Your sources have a few suggestions. One that really stands out is the idea of mindfulness, being present in each moment without judging it.
Mindfulness is something I've heard about, but I'm not sure I really get it. How does it work?
Think of it as a way to train your attention. Instead of getting lost in thoughts about the past or worrying about the future, you gently bring your focus back to what's happening right now, the sights, sounds, and even your thoughts and feelings.
So it's about noticing what's going on without letting it take over.
Exactly. And one of the sources mentions a simple technique, focusing on your breath. Just taking a few deep breaths, being aware of them, can bring you back to the present and make you feel more grounded and calm.
I could definitely try that. It seems like a good way to just pause and appreciate the little things we usually don't even think about.
And that connects to another big idea from your sources, being grateful. Remember that magic trick we talked about? Being grateful helps us focus on what we already have instead of what we're missing. And that can totally change how we experience life.
So it's like choosing to see the glass half full instead of half empty.
Exactly. And your sources say it's not about ignoring problems or pretending everything's perfect. It's about noticing the good things, even when things are tough.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into reflections on life, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this conversation?
I think it comes down to this. You have the power to create a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling, even with all the challenges and uncertainty. Embrace the journey, practice gratitude, Be kind to yourself and remember you have so much potential.
That's a great way to put it. And to our listener, I hope this deep dive gave you some helpful insights and inspiration to use on your own journey. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.